let's keep it at that. So I can start. So my name is Sam. I'm French Danish, currently living in Portugal, and I'm working on a traditional dream factory. So this is where we are right now. So I think most of you have seen it during Rebuild. It's a space, a co-created, co-owned space that we're building here in Alentejo in Portugal. Yeah, this is what I'm focused on.
Hey, I'm Ani, a Romanian living in Portugal and also working on Dream Factory. And as well as Sam, we created Rebuild to ignite this movement of collaboration, and really happy to see all of you here and to the next phase of creating tools and enabling a better collaboration between villages. Ava?
Awesome. Hello, everybody. My name is Ava. It's really good to meet some of you, see some familiar faces. I'm in Bali, just south of Ubud and Sukawati. And I'm here helping out with Pure. And my main focus is building out an investment fund, and a considerable bit of that's going to be in real estate here in Bali. And I would love to pass the mic to, I see Nelson Molina below me.
Hi, everyone. Right now I'm in Barcelona, which I just came back to, and I'm working on Grissos.life with Jeremy, that is also in the call. And what we are aiming to do is create the meta structure and the components needed to create living spaces, and we are focusing on Spain and Portugal, but are open to other collaborations. And I will pass it to David.
To me, guys, sorry, I can't see everybody's screen at the minute. Am I the only David on the call?
Yeah, go for it.
It's me? Okay. Another 30 seconds, I would have been home. Hi, everybody. My name's David. I'm here representing a company called the Tiny Home Foundation. We're a not-for-profit company, a new startup created to bring the global tiny home movement to the UK to basically facilitate genuinely affordable homes, because they're in such desperately short supply in the UK. After attending the Rebuild conference, it was amazing to connect with so many other like-minded people, to see the vision for some of the other projects around the world. It's inspiring. I really like it's put oxygen onto my own burning desire to really make change, and it's been phenomenal to just reach out and connect with a few of you on LinkedIn as well. I'm really excited now to see what things are moving, how things are moving forward, and happy to be able to collaborate to a global effort in any way that I can. So who do I need to hand the mic on to now? Let's go to Jeremy.
Awesome. Thanks, David. As Nelson said, we have a startup called Resource. Really, we're hoping to develop villages and help collaborate in building the meta structure. And I'm based in Portugal, and we're looking at a number of different sites here and seeing how we can support existing villages that are out there as well. And super excited to be collaborating with you all. I'll hand it over to Kevin.
Hi, everybody. I am in the United States, upstate New York, about 3.5 hours north of New York City. And I'm working with my partner, Mark Shepard, to sort of expand a network of farms using agroforestry practices for ecosystem restoration and sort of rural economic development, and creating models to bring in investors, new farmers, to sort of continue this work and develop a hub in our region. And very interested in exploring more with all of you and incorporating some of the sort of community and residential aspect into our projects as well. So I can only be on for about a half an hour because we have to head out, but I just wanted to make sure to jump in because I'm excited to collaborate with you all. And Karsten, I'll pass it on to you.
Thanks, Kevin. Hi, everybody. I'm on an island of the Dutch coast currently. I'm really new to the space, but I've thought about building villages for years now, to be honest. But I come at them from a place where they just look to me like the best way to make a lot of the things that I'm interested in real. And so it was a pleasure to come to Rebuild and see how much of the ecosystem I had in my head is already being built. So there's 3 streams I'm working on. One is the normal building villages stream, and we're doing that as a startup. I am looking into setting up a bigger fund with some people to get some speed into the whole ecosystem. And then there's the bit that I see really needs to get done in some way as a village OS platform that we're here for today, as something that is open sourced. And I did design something like that with a holochain developer 2 years ago. That startup never got funded, but at least the work has kind of been done. So if I can contribute anything from that end, cool. And Kylie.
Hey everyone, great to see such familiar faces, and super excited about today's conversation. I am also here at the Dream Factory, and I am working on a big project called Impact Alliance. The overall goal is to give everyone a dashboard so they can track their impact on the planet, and in a means to hopefully get everyone towards being more carbon negative and more environmentally positive. My little catchphrase is that I want to be the most negative person on the planet. And so I'm looking forward to today's discussion. I pass it over to Paulo.
Thank you. Super excited to see the talent and weaving in from Rebuild here, gathering with this idea. So presently, and this is the reason for being on the call, I'm working with within iFund, the Seeds movement, as a DHO catalyst. So the idea of bringing the possibility of a village in a box baseline that can inspire people to build then their own village in a box is really excited, and that's me. And I'm very happy to see you, Diogo, here. I'll pass it to you.
Thank you, Paulo. I'm Diogo. I'm also in Alentejo, and also rebuilding an old brick factory. I'm in Odmira, in the interior region of Odmira. We are working on this project called Clara, Center for Real Future, and Clara is a catalyzer for community regenerative development. I will talk about more later. I'm really happy and enthusiastic about this collaborative movement. So I'm really glad to be here with you. I will pass to Matteo.
Thank you, Diogo. I'm also here in the Alentejo. As you can see, it's boiling hot and sunny. And yeah, like Paulo, I'm also working for IFA as a movement weaver. And at the same time, I'm also co-initiator of a project called Regenerative Human Settlement, which is really about bringing together all the elements that need to exist in order to create regenerative settlements of different size. And the village in a box is just like part of this ecosystem. So I'm very motivated to see it happening and yeah, and play with you guys. And I'm passed to Ava.
I've already spoken. Can I double pass? Who hasn't spoken actually? Go a little further along now. Maybe like a little bit. I see one. Arturo, you got it.
Hey there.
Yeah.
Really happy to be here and see all these faces, familiar faces and new ones. I'm right now I'm from Barcelona. I'm right now in Alentejo in Traditional Dream Factory. And right now I'm working with Traditional Dream Factory, and as well, my main focus will be the village in a box. So I'm super happy to start working on it. I pass it to Maria.
Hi there, guys. Can you hear me? Right. Okay. Perfect. I'm not in the factory. I'm just in a tiny room, and from Slovakia. I'm involved in many regenerative projects, but currently I am focused on implementing global tools into our local environment. So in the long term, we really want to build this really regenerative communities. So I'm very excited about this toolbox. And I would love to pass it to Ryan. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I don't have my video on because I'm lying in bed, but I'm calling in from Bali, and we're working on a project here called Pure. As Ava mentioned, one of the aspects is creating a tokenized real estate fund that can capitalize village-based regenerative projects, and then we have an institute here that is creating an operating system for communities, but really focused on the community facilitation side, the human side of the equation. Thank you. I will pass it on to Leon.
Hi friends, hope you can hear me okay on mobile. My name is Leon, or Huang Li Zong, they them pronouns, he can pronouns. Currently calling in from the lands of the Alumni tribe, which is beautiful logging forest this morning. Usually based in the lands of the Tonga tribe in Southern California. And let's see, project-wise, I guess the most relevant to this group is probably, I'm part of the advisory circle for the Buckminster Fuller's co-operating annual for Spaceship Earth, but I am involved in many other projects and communities. And current workplace home is Sustainable Ocean Alliance for the last month or so. Glad to be in community with you all, and I think we haven't heard from Alexandria yet.
Yes, hi everybody. Happy to be here. I'm currently helping Anya with her Project Heart website, and I'd like to be on the team for the Village in the Box concept. Very interested in that. Would like to help out to build the tech for it. And I think everybody has spoken by this time. I'm not sure, so I'll pass it to Sam and Anya.
Matthew.
Matthew.
Yeah, hi, Matthew here. I'm American, living in Serbia for almost 5 years now, and I'm living in a little village that I've been coming to for over 3 years, and I helped invest in a permaculture property, and we've already done 2 permaculture training certifications. We didn't last year because of the virus. I've been a researcher and promoter of sustainable, regenerative type things for over 20 years, so I have my hands in a lot of things from people from all over the world working to help regenerate villages as well as urban and corporations and stuff like that. So just actually had a talk with Franz with Seeds last night. I think he's still the main ambassador. And so I got caught up on what Seeds has been doing, and I loved hearing what he had to say. And I'm excited about connecting with all of you. And Jeremy invited me to this group. So thank you, Jeremy. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you. I don't know who to. Everybody introduce themselves.
I think we're just missing Reiki.
Wow, epic group of humans here. Reiki, I'm part of Haifa. Haifa has been helping build Seeds for the last 4 years or so. I'm a map maker, token economist. Is that a thing? It's a thing. I do a lot of token designs and architecture around ecosystem flows and that sort of stuff. And then I do map making, which is more trying to articulate what's happening in this whole ecosystem and sphere that's emerging, and make videos and maps and guides about, what's emerging. So you might see my face a lot in Seed stocks. It's not because I'm the founder or anything crazy like that. It's just because that's my role. I'm really, really interested in regenerative villages, and I'm coming to this alliance first having just wanting to hold the space for this idea, and bringing the Haifa Do tool sets to this movement to help us actually organize, structure, and build it out. And then also use that potentially for villages, for them to do governance and all that stuff. You might have seen my presentation, so I'm not going to get into any of that, and I will pass it to Sam.
All right, amazing. Thank you so much. And yeah, it's amazing to have such a huge group of bright minds together in one room, all willing to share the time and collaborate on something so awesome. So we created a small presentation just because we want to dive a little bit into what is it that we're actually trying to solve here. So I'm just gonna start sharing that. Oh, can you enable screen sharing?
You've got it.
Thank you. Okay. All right, can you see my screen? Cool. But yeah, so, oh, I'm getting some echo. Echo? Okay, here we go. Yeah, so basically, this is an invitation, and I guess all of you join either because you watched Reiki's talk during Rebuild, where he presented the village in a box concept that Haifa has been thinking about, or maybe just because in the closing of Rebuild, we also mentioned this piece. And basically what we're looking to do is to create collaboration between all these villages that are popping up around the world and to gain more power because we can pull resources together. So this is basically our philosophy, is to pull resources together in order to develop technologies that can help all of us so we can be stronger. So instead of working in silos, we can all work on the same things and be more, what do you call it? Have more focus in what we build and integrate all the pieces. And the other piece is creating economic models that can incentivize each village to help one another instead of being in competition. And the process we would like to adopt is to prototype, iterate, replicate. By that we mean that each of these villages it's a pretty new concept, and a lot of the things we're trying to do is like really cutting edge. We're trying to integrate a new governance system, blockchain, new technologies, all kind of things. And so a lot of this is going to fail. That's just the reality of the startup world and the world of creating new things. And so really, I think this prototype iteration piece is really vital. But the third piece, which is even more important in order to foster collaboration rather than competition, is that we want to enable all villages to be replicated. So open sourcing our tools, creating things that can be shared by others, not keeping it for ourselves. And like basically a traditional company, you stay within the prototype iterate loop and you just keep making your own things better. But what we want to do is be able for those villages to spread horizontally by spreading those technologies. But so the goal of today's call is really to be concrete, to be very hands-on, to really tackle problems that we all face as village builders, and to build things and tools that can really help us accelerate. And just to give you a bit of perspective, each of the problems that we're going to mention, we're really looking to look at them through the same lens as the Rebuild framework, which is to say that we're not trying to build tools that are solving each specific area of this, but every single one of those tools need to solve for all of those things. It needs to solve for building infrastructure, people and business, nature and ecosystem. And so just to keep it in the back of our heads when we go through the tools, all the problems that we're trying to solve. So the first piece that I think would be useful and that a lot of people have been requesting is a knowledge and talent library. As a village builder, I want to be able to access a library of content that can help me learn all the knowledge required to establish a new village. And for this, for example, all the recordings from Rebuild, which we're going to be publishing to the session pages very soon. That's like a first step in that. If I come and I'm a new village builder, I don't know anything about it, I can now go to Rebuild, I can see all these conference content, and I can get a pretty good idea of what the space looks like. And as well as content, I think the idea of having a network of people with all these special skills that you're going to need in order to establish a village, that's really something that we can help provide with Rebuild. And that, well, if anyone wants to help and build that based on the Rebuild database and whatnot, that could be a great thing. The next problem we're looking to, well, or that we heard before anyway, and that some people were interested in having, is a mentor network. So as a first-time village builder, if I'm looking to build a village, it would be really valuable to get paired up with someone who has already built multiple villages in the past. And this is, again, something where the Rebuild network could be like a great asset. Maybe there's like other tools that we can use, whatever it is. This is just like a problem statement and some things that would be very valuable for a village builder. Another piece that we talked about in the past, because we've actually been talking about how we can accelerate the movement for some time, but it was to create a gathering/conference in order to cross-pollinate communities and create knowledge and be able to learn about all these things and get our hands dirty. And this is what Rebuild is, and this is, I guess, why you all joined. And so we had the first version. We're going to have the physical event in September here in Portugal, but the goal is to have more of those around the world and to have anyone being able to basically launch a Rebuild conference. And then finally, we get to the final piece, which is probably why most of you are here today, which is a village in a box idea. So when you're starting a new village or a network of villages, like we're doing with Oasis/Traditional Dream Factory, like Cohere, like probably a lot of you are doing, well, there's a lot of technologies that you need to build. And if you're not a big tech company, it's pretty hard to build all those tools. And this is why the idea of pooling resources together in order to fund a tech team to build all those tools for us comes in handy. And so for this village in a box concept, what we really want to focus on is what are all the user journeys that we want to go through. For example, when I'm starting a village, I guess one of the first things is finding out funding. So maybe we have a process for that. Maybe you have a user journey that enables your future villagers to buy tokens in your village in order to fund it. Maybe you have like a whole onboarding process. Maybe you have a booking process for being able to book your stays if it's not a permanent village. There's probably going to be a governance model for how you make decisions. There's an online presence, so you're able to share your village with the world and attract new villagers, events, and so on and so on. So this is just like some of the tools that we are looking to develop. And for this, I'm going to be sharing everything that I built up until now that we're starting to build for Dream Factory, and also looking for anyone who wants to contribute technology and resources to this, where we're all going to be co-creating together a technology platform that enables you to start and operate your village. And yeah, so that's basically a summary of the problems. And where do we go from here? Well, first of all, I think we need to refine a little bit those problems. Maybe what we would like to do right after this is to get into breakout rooms, so we can each talk a little bit about those problems that we just went through, and so everyone can kind of say like, does that cover all the problems that you can see for your village? Is there other things that you would like to add? And what would you like to focus on? Just have a little conversation around that. And then maybe we can do a little debrief after that to see where we're at. But yeah, where we go from here, basically what we would like to achieve in the next few weeks is to create separate small teams that can focus on each of the problems and create the designs. So maybe we have like a UX designer, some things that can start putting all of those ideas and all of those things into like a physical, concrete technological tool that we can use. And then after that, we're going to be starting to build. So maybe Reiki, you can put us into some breakout rooms and we can all talk about if those problem statements, if those resonate with you, and if that covers everything that we need.
Sure. I know Kristen also has a hand up, and maybe we'll.
What was that?
Sam, would you share the presentation?
Yes, I'll put it in the chat so you can also all go through it and
Thank you.
check out the problems. Here we go.
Karsten?
Yeah, I got a question. Well, it might widen the frame slightly. So what I would like to see eventually, and I know that that is not something that we can do in the next half year or whatever, is a system that allows for knowledge sharing in a tokenized way that really helps to pay one another for the mistakes we make. You know, like my village fucks something up, but that helps other villages save a lot of money so they can pay for that mistake, and just making the whole IP that we develop into an asset. And the other side is, one reason why I'm really interested in building villages is because it's a great way to develop the methodology to measure ecological value, social value in a way that's auditable, like that financial people can work with, and then to tokenize that. And as we manage to do that, to create tokens in the villages that are filled with ecological and social value, you have an asset that every pension fund in the world, you know, is going to be very grateful to invest in, and that would speed up the whole thing so much. Obviously, that's going to take a while, but my sense is that a platform like a village operating system that does all that, and that also allows us to run the technology in the villages and gather data, et cetera, in a permission-based way, that would be really cool if that whole thing would be open source instead of being something, you know, that you develop with venture capital money. And I just want to put that out there, if that is a vision, if that is a goal that everybody would say like cool, or if it's more something very guys think, well, this is way too far down the road, we can't do this open source. So
I think those are some great points. Should we maybe just do breakout rooms so we can have like a focus a little bit? Reiki,
Sure.
if you want to set that up, and then we can.
I'm going to break it into 4 rooms. What 4 rooms do we want? Currently, I have tracking, eco, and social value. I think that's probably valuable to be a room. I have the mentors. I thought that was an issue, event, and village in the box, but I may have missed one. Is there another room?
The first one is interoperability. Do you have that? It's being able to navigate between villages.
Okay. I'm going to make 5 rooms. You get to choose your own room, and I'm putting in the chat box now what each of those 5 rooms are.
And I made the presentation public, so you can all access the slides now.
So everyone take a look at the chat box. Those are the 5 rooms, and in about 2 seconds, I am creating the rooms. Hop in whatever one fits your need. There you go. Does this allow you to choose a room, or am I supposed to now assign you all?
I think you have to assign us, actually. I can't.
That's a whole nightmare, isn't it?
Maybe just assign automatically, and
if you click on the breakout rooms at the bottom, I think you can choose.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think we can choose. Yeah.
Yeah. So go to the breakout rooms at the bottom. Choose yourself. Awesome.
Okay, can you put me in? I guess village in a box, because I don't have the button here for some reason.
Okay, I will do that. If anyone wants me to also assign you, if you're stuck here, I will do so. Just speak up.
Oh.
Is anyone else stuck wanting me to assign you to a room? Nope, I think everyone's good then. I'll just wait here until everyone disappears.
Did we say which room was what?
Yeah, apparently there's a, which one do you want to go to?
I see the numbers, but I might have missed. Oh, I see it in chat. Okay, never mind. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
About the yeah, Village in a Box, I think, I mean, that's really the one that we want to focus most of our energy.
To activate transformative entrepreneurs. And I think a huge piece of that is going to be like how we work and how we live are integrating in a really beautiful way. And I'm interested in stewarding that emergence in the culture and also capturing some of that value as a security that's available for legacy stores of wealth to execute strategies and move wealth. So yeah, where are we at the Pure Fund? Early, definitely early, but we have one project here that is about 2 years in, looking to expand it out a little bit, and we're looking at 3 or 4 more different pieces of land. Real estate seems to move slow in Bali, but it moves. Who am I in the room with?
I can chat a little bit. So, well, I want to get right into some of the goals of this room, which is the tracking eco and social value. So let's just jump in with a problem topic there. So tracking. So I see an issue with with how we can monitor and manage ecological impact without and finding the best way to do that, and also in the frame of mind that I operate in is having to connect this old existing world, legacy world, with the amazing creative ideas, especially with like Aleki and Seeds and Haifa of the future, and how do we bridge that and like iterate quickly, fail early, fail often, and get people to not be afraid. That's the lens I view this issue of tracking these things together, because people like Karsten are super thrilled about tokenizing so many things, but my grandmother still doesn't know what a token is, and so I'll just throw that out there. Any ideas or anything that you've seen that's been successful in changing someone's ideology or kind of like upgrading them, or so we could focus on like the land and like actually tracking it, having some system to track it, or the idea of how do we get people to adopt the value.
Like my take on that is the tokenization is more an aspect that allows us to get fuck tons of funding into these things. And the other aspect of that is, like, obviously we don't know where stuff is going to go with technology. If we develop quickly enough to become a bit wiser, or if technology is going to take more and more control. So while the idea of measuring social value has tons and tons of pitfalls, if we don't manage to make the uniquely human aspects, creativity, the things that makes us measurable in some way, then the algorithms are not going to recognize that. And so as far as helping people change, this is very adjacent to that bit. But again, that's why the villages are so cool as a platform to have all of these things come together and play with each other so you can optimize the whole system.
Oh, that's amazing. Riki, go for it.
I want to push it back on Karsten because he kind of called this room into being. So I'd love to have you open it up a little bit more and frame what you're working on, how you're seeing this going forward, or anything else like that. If you have anything.
But you wanted to say something, I think.
Sure. So I have 2 points. First, I think that there's a like trophic efficiency as a metric of evaluating supply chains is actually a pretty growing trend. So like thinking about like just how energy moves through systems, and if we can align incentives in like any innovation pipeline within a corporation to trophic efficiency. So especially like property technology or like in real estate and like any supply chain, you can run an analysis on how like efficient it is based on that metric, like trophic efficiency. I'm not an expert in that, but I've heard a lot of really exciting stuff in it. The other piece is with smart contracts and governance. You can build in, especially with like NFTs, you can build in like kill switches for certain behaviors and for certain like strategic indecision. Like if you didn't plan on a certain set of things happening, and it's actually like a bottleneck or a pain point where the value set could like drift, and it could be really far away from the original intention of an entity, you can have a kill switch, fork the project, and create a clone with that solution solved. So like I think that there's ways in smart contracts to create like guardrails so you don't go into the gutter, you don't get over leverage and lose control. And then there's ways to bind, like I think art is really attractive to like, in the creation of art, you can actually build in like providence, so it's authentic, and then you can build in governance such that like it can align with social movements. And like I've seen really powerful stuff for like environmental justice, and then those securities being traded on broader markets. So I have a lot of hope for tokens around in this village movement to borrow from what's happening in the art world right now around governance. So those are the two kind of lanes that I'm excited about in this conversation. And then of course, like public health data, but we can talk about owning your public health data and bioinformatics, if that's something that interests people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's some of the brilliant stuff that I see in there that's hopefully going to be possible, or that is already possible, but it's far from becoming mainstream. And again, like this is one way to get the funding for it and to make sure that it gets applied in a way that does some good stuff in the world. So Ricky, if I could take your question 1,000 different directions, so could you narrow it down a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious with this alliance, as I'm just trying to see what all the pieces are on the table, because I'm wanting to plug everything together. So I'm really curious, what piece you're holding on to, what does that look like? And then I could better map where it fits, if it fits.
Okay. Well, in a way, I'm holding on to no piece at all. Like, as I said, I'm a stranger to the space. I've been in startups for over 20 years, I think, banking, consulting before that. I've meditated for 25 years. So I think what I do bring to the space is a certain bit of grounding, and I like money. Like I like what money can do to teach people to really own their shit. And I like what it can do in the world if what is valued through it is changed just a little bit, from where we are right now. And as far as the villages are concerned, I kind of came up with that concept sitting by myself and trying to figure out how to get all these cool projects that I see everywhere accelerated. And then 3 weeks ago, it shifted in my head into something that apparently needs to get done. And I announced that at a conference I was at, and since then I've spoken to more people than I've done in the past 10 years, I think. And there is a lot of movement here, obviously, as all you guys know. And so
Carson,
where
if I can
I'm
interrupt you for 1 second. If I can kind of frame your where you're going in, if you review the lens through, how do you feel, what would make you feel the most excited in the next 5 years? If you set that as a target, what is driving your excitement?
Don't work that way, Kylie. Like I know what I know how to do when I know, and then I do that bit. And when I don't know what to do next, then I get quiet and wait, what's the next bit? And there's some themes in my life that have never changed and that are never going to change probably, which are making the journey to that quiet space within ourselves easier for people. Like that's what I'm all about fundamentally. And part of what drives me in the villages personally is like that journey sucked being alone. And the villages can help with that and make it easier for people. And then the third bit is leverage and scale. So
you said leverage?
Leverage and scale. Like, I can work with people one-on-one all my life, and yeah, maybe that's going to help. But if we can roll this out at scale, that would be much cooler. So in terms of what do I want to see done in this space, it's these 3 areas that I'm working on actively. It's just running this as a startup, because that's kind of the safe play, and I know how to do that. I know how to get money for that. I don't know if I can set up $1 billion fund. I can talk to people and knock on doors and see what happens, but you know, that's crazy shit has happened, but I can't make that happen. And the open source bit in there, like the platform that we are all kind of here to work on, is if, like, I talked to James 10 days ago, and you know, the whole village OS that Region is developing or not or whatever, like, this technology would be so much more valuable if it was open source, really. And yeah, I'm curious if it's possible to do it that way, or if it needs to be done as a venture play. I don't know. Is that
I'll jump in for a second. Everything we're building at Haifa, and I can share with you this, the overview of the village thing, whatever it's called. This is all open source, and I can frame this conversation today. I feel like it might be super relevant, so maybe I can ground it. You guys see this? So this is version 1.0 of how we could start tracking ecological, social, and all the other metrics we care about within a village. I think, you know, version 1.0 of this is going to be subjective. So all the village members might just have a, you know, 1 through 10. What do you feel about these things? Here, let me delete this for a moment so you can see it all. Now, this is the one on the right is done economics, and the one on the left is the deep impact meta-integral model. But both of these are really highly designed to try to capture the totality of, you know, what makes life beautiful and wonderful. Everything is not perfect, everything's a map, but this is a good way of starting. So what we want to kick it off first is making them subjective. So people just come in and they fill these things out, and then you aggregate everyone village members into it, and then you get a good understanding of where it's at. Where I think this evolves into is getting this more objective, figuring out other ways of tracking this data and feeding it into the system. So that's how I see this thing evolving. However, it's going to take a long time to, you know, objectively measure, you know, democratic quality. You know, it's going to be hard to know if, you know, democracies are working well or not on an objective basis, right? Or, you know, education for that matter. It's a little bit hard to objectively measure education. I mean, we can get closer, we can support these things with some objective feedback, but, you know, at some point, a lot of this is still, you know, subjective metrics. And sometimes it's nice to keep it subjective because the objective can, you know, frame it in weird ways. You know, if we say educational quality is people passing an SAT, then all of a sudden all we care about is learning about the SAT and not, you know, critical thinking and et cetera, et cetera. You guys get it. So this is how I wanted to frame it, is like, here's a model, and I want to just open it up for any thoughts or feedback or just anything now.
So first and foremost, I want to address the issue of metrics, because I think it's something that a lot of people who don't have a data science background tend to miss, and it's primarily an educational issue. And the issue is that we can make data say whatever we want. And so data can be manipulated. That's on one side. And the other side of the coin is that depending on how you are measuring things, and Reiki talked a little bit about this, how you measure something is extremely important, because you can, depending on how you measure, let's say education, right? And we have a problem in this in the United States where we think that, oh, okay, well, SAT scores are a great metric for education, but in reality, it's just an easy way to measure something. And so I think over qualifying or misqualifying a metric in terms of how you're measuring it, and something like education is something that I don't have answers to right now for everything. But it's an area that we need to always bring to the front when we're looking to do something like this, and especially get such detailed analytics on things.
Sorry, the dogs wanted to eat people.
And guys, I'm really excited for this conversation. I'm gonna have to drop out, but I just have to say, like, me and like my team, this overall framework that Rebuild has put together with those three connected pieces, you know, the nature and ecosystems, the people and business, and the infrastructure, are such a compelling picture. And, you know, we're looking forward to contributing the pieces that we have some skills at and learning from you guys and the others. So I'm sorry to leave, but I look forward to connecting again.
See you, Kevin. I am also hosting, and this is all recording on me. So I'm going to jump into some of the other groups so we can get like a snapshot of people who watch this, and I'll pass it over to you all to keep it flowing. And
but the idea is to be more permeable to the region, so people, the other members of the community can use these tools. But people they are far apart from that, so we need to create these links. I don't know if I'm following your scripts. I'm just saying things that I'm thinking about. What can we use this tool for what for?
I can jump in and say just one or two things. So first, the concept of the eco village, in this case, this would be the eco village in a box, is an intentional context in the sense that everyone that joins this type of eco villages wants to join. So a different kind of thing is you approach an existing village with something that brings a layer of complexity that it's not what I think we can do at this stage, because if we don't do this building block at this stage, we don't understand how to scale it from there to the real world. So, and there's a lot of wisdom of doing that already. So on one side, this is building on that wisdom. The thing that I think it's important for this kind of idea is weaving in this wisdom that already exists while transcending something that it's our legacy to the world, right? And for instance, we can pick value flows, which is the other discussion on the other meeting, to be that thing. So that building a village is not this odd thing where everyone needs to go, that wants to start a village, needs to go and find finance and find this idea and convince people that this is a good idea, because you already have the wisdom, the search, the protocols that facilitate the next village and facilitate the next village. And after the third one, the fourth one is even easier, right? You don't have even to convince no one, because people already get the experience, right? They get the learning. And it's not that much of a prescriptive kind of recipe, because every place will be different, but it's okay, we stretch this far. So if you want to start, you can start from here if you want, and it's always an option. But we tell the story of how it is to start there, right? And eventually this would then result in tools and technology that it's both physical and virtual to allow people to start there where we left it. And this is the thing that eventually it's not easy to do with all the experience of villages, because that knowledge is not accessible. It's not transformed in the package. It's not packaged in, right? And that's the metaphor of the village.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And Diogo, to go back to your original point about how can we, I think it was something about creating economical models for the village and also like how to fund it. We had the idea. Well, I think one of the things from the tool from the village in a box is to create plugins or like things that you can integrate that can add revenue streams. So, for example, for the traditional Dream Factory, we're talking about potentially implementing a mushroom farm or hemp farm or a co-working and all these kind of things. And if you already have those plugins within the toolbox already, that means you can just like turn it on, put your parameters, whatever, and then you can create those revenue streams for your village. Another piece, for example, would be integrated with Regen Network or stuff like that. So maybe you have like a big land and you can issue carbon credits for your work. So I think that's like kind of things that I would love to see in a toolbox.
We're about to wrap up to hop back in, so I want to get the harvest out of this. Do we know one or two people from this group that might share the key takeaways that happened here? Volunteers for that?
I took some notes if no one else.
All right.
I can compliment on you, Sam. Yeah. I will help you.
Close these. If anyone else, there's going to be about a minute left. If anyone else has something to share, then feel free.
Well, thank you. You can spend the last 50 seconds if you would like.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you guys fully talked about, so stop me if this is repetitive, but something I'd be really fascinated in is, and I'll share it real quick. I'm going to get stopped, but is walking people through the process of what it actually looks like to set up a village. Like, how do they pool their capital? What are their needs? You know, how do they actually start coordinating? How do they make the first decisions together? So like that general process that takes up years and years of time generally to try to discover it yourself, offer people a set of cards that they can kind of choose from, so that it becomes more of like a game journey. So that's really how I see the Village in the Box. It's kind of like building your own game with your group of friends. And ideally it is as simple as, you know, opening up a box and reading the tools of instructions and picking pieces and stepping through it and making it fun like that.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. I think we're missing a couple people, or are they lost in the black box?
No, it's okay. I think a couple people dropped off. I know one had to leave, so.
Okay.
All good. I think what we could do for the last couple minutes is just have people share their harvest from each one of the circles that they were part of. So maybe let's just go by the numbers. If someone was in group 1, if you have anything for interoperability. I don't know if anyone was in that group. No?
I don't think so. I think only 2, 4, and 5 were filled at the end.
Okay. Do we have someone for room 2 for mentors?
Yeah. I was in room 1. I think the other 2 may have dropped. I guess the biggest highlight that I would like to share, and I also posted this in chat, was I attended Hilo's shareholders circle yesterday, and there is quite an exciting kind of year ahead in terms of functionalities that they're building towards. Definitely keep an eye on that, specifically for being able to add certain skills or add skills that you need, or looking at mapping geographics in certain ways, looking at, yeah, just interesting and more effective ways to create a central platform for that. We also talked about what other tools are out there, but it seems like mostly right now there isn't any central platform that provides some of the functionality that Nani was looking for. And also talked about the economics aspect, since we live in a capital world. Highlight was Dion Ruan from Day 3, which is shifting towards the joy economy, which I think is an interesting intersubjective reality that we should all consider. So I think that is also launching in the next couple weeks. I'll put a link to her website. I think they're launching the community soon. That I think galvanized like 300 experts. I believe Anton is also connected and keeping an eye on sharing that soon as well.
Awesome. Wow. Room 2 for the mentors.
I'll write this up, but like just as a quick overview, we were looking at mentors and the knowledge transfer and repository. So yeah, knowledge would be kind of split into a repository of information, and then how is it then transferred to other people, and that kind of comes into the mentor space, right? And so it's how what we also saw was how you can also you want to deep link the knowledge repository and the information that's in there to the people who are involved in that space. And so that also allows for, like, if I create a profile within the ecosystem, within this database, this directory, you know, based upon my knowledge, the role I play, my experience, my skills / talent, you know, my virtues came up as well, right? If I create that kind of profile, then out of the repository, it'll like kind of bring me information. It'll bring me people who are interesting to me within that circle. And so we're talking about how that database, that directory, will allow for me to self-organize and create the profile around my interests. And then that helps me also look for how to satisfy my needs, where there are other people in the ecosystem that I need at the different stages of that process. So what I do also, if you have a look in the Village in a Box, one of my second last messages I think I put in the Discord channel was around how we start to think about the taxonomy and the breakdown of the directory to help us like filter and find the people we need to help us work on those things. And so this is going to be, we thought around how an Airtable to add in the information that then can spit out a mind map that then can show that whole ecosystem and where there's a lot of energy being focused. And then finally, for the mental aspect of it, like maybe in 3 different stages, you've got standard like FAQ type stuff. As attached to my profile, you can find like all the like best practices that I think are good in the space. So people can just like read and learn about it, whether it's Medium articles or otherwise. Then there's coaching as a gift. So I can put on my profile how many hours a week I would be happy to give as a gift to others and just to help them problem solve within my specific areas of knowledge. And then there might be consulting level as well. So where I'm really being pulled away from my raison d'etre in life, the work that I'm doing, and I'm helping others, how can I be rewarded for that in a way that makes it a win-win for everybody? And so that's how we thought about the mentor aspect. So we could pass on to room 3, events.
It looked like no one was actually in that room. I think one person joined and then left. So we'll go room 4.
We all rebuild it out then already.
Yeah.
I guess everyone is happy with the current setup then. So yeah, for room 4, let's try and summarize. We had a lot of people. So we talked a little bit about how can we fund the village and making sure that the Village in a Box concept takes into account all the funding mechanism to fund the village, but also to create the economic model for the village or for the space where you can maybe create new forms of value that you can just plug into the space. We talked about making a replicable regenerative concept and making sure that whatever we build, it can be dropped into a new context. So maybe the tools that we build for a village, maybe we even like drop it on a space in a city, for example, and being able to replicate that regenerative process. We talked about one thing that would be great actually to do for all of these problems is to list out what are all the personas that we're trying to solve problems for. So like village builder or the end user who's going to be checking into the villages and so on, and maybe trying to look at all of those problems from their perspectives. I think that's something that maybe we can have a UX designer help us with and maybe host a workshop or something. And then we had a few people talk about what identifies us. Like, do we include all villages, or is it only certain types of regenerative villages that we want to include in this process and that we want to share those tools with? And how do we share the tools? Is it like a barrier to entry, or is it just open for anyone? We talked about one of the things that was important was that whatever tools we end up creating should be really transformative, and they should really push us toward the societies that we want to live in. Yeah, and then again, if we should gift out those tools to any kind of village. And then finally, we talked about that it would be great to have a walkthrough of the whole process of creating a village and operating a village, and being able to really see that and potentially gamifying the whole experience of creating a village and operating a village to create positive incentives. I think that summarizes it. Any additions, Paolo, or anyone?
No, did great.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we talked about mentors and we talked about Village in the Box. I really like the mentors idea. As a matter of fact, me and Annie were discussing the mentor network before we started working on Project Heart. And for me, mentors and Village in the Box are connected. So my question is are mentor services going to be part of the Village in the Box concept, or is it going to be a separate platform? How are we thinking about it currently?
So as I think the 5 problems that we stated, it's not so much about finding like what is a tool gonna look like, but just making sure that we solve those problems. So it might be all within a single platform, or it might be different and so on. Yeah, I don't think we are really at that stage yet. Jeremy.
I can totally imagine that as we build out the mentor and the directory system, that becomes a tool within the do as well, right? And I can see that happening. I think that that will sit within that, because that would be an amazing toolbox for us to all be able to utilize that, and yeah, it should be open source and shared. And as long as there's some protection around the public access of that kind of knowledge and information, for like my phone number and my email address and things like that. So maybe there's like some sort of like levels of security that have to be built into that.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't want us to dive too much into the details of how we're going to be solving this, because we also passed time now, and I want to be mindful of everyone's time. I think we had a super productive session today. We didn't really get to the last speech, which is talking about a little bit about what a do is and how we can organize ourselves. But basically, the proposal is to set up a do, which is just a decentralized human organization, which would just be the host for all of this technology and creation that we're going to be doing. It doesn't necessarily mean that that do, or the technology on which a do is built, is going to be the technologies that we're going to be spreading to all the villages. But at least for now, what I propose is that we use the technology of the do to align ourselves within this creation. But maybe we can keep that for next call. How do you? We have a question.
I'm wondering if I can offer some home play for all of us, just real quick to help us all map it. At the back of this deck, and it could be moved to somewhere else anyway, if you could put your organization and what offerings you might be able to bring to this alliance, and then just have big cards that say what they are and delete whatever ones don't apply, that'd be really helpful and awesome for us to all get a real quick glimpse of what we have here in this alliance. So you can see Seeds and Haifa has kind of started this trend, and then you can come down here and just follow that. So there's a lot of open space for everyone to do that. I think that would be really, really helpful for our next gathering, because then we can get a picture of everything that we have here in this alliance. Well, I'll leave it at that.
And I think Annie had something.
I was just mentioning that we didn't go to room number 5. Kyle has some notes.
Oh.
Briefly share.
Oh, but you have muted. So, yeah, we didn't go through room number 5, so let's go through that. Kyle. Sorry.
Okay, Sam, if you just want to go to mute, I'll flip to volume here. Okay, so for number 5, let's see here. Sorry guys, the audio feedback kills me. Okay, so I think number 5 is started off. It felt a little overwhelming. I think I speak for the group when saying that. And it sounds like we have more problems than even I anticipated to solve. And we did a great job at talking about some of the problems. And the first thing we realized is that there are so many problems in connecting the old traditional world to the new one. And one of the cool things that we realize is that there are so many new ideas that we can pull from old and new industries and new ways of thinking into the future. Ava brought up a lot of ideas about conscious capital and trophic efficiency and smart contracts, governance, kill switches, guardrails, using the art idea with of providence for some of this, and how we could relate providence to possibly some token, whether that we use the old system or the new one, basically non-digital or digital to do that. And then Carson talked a lot about the need to accelerate. How can we, from where we are today, how can we accelerate this? And then we jumped in and said, okay, well, we reframed the conversation because we have all these ideas. What are the action items that we can take in 3 months? How do we distill this down into things we can do today? Basically, we also called out some issues with how we measure and monitor things. If we are measuring, let's say we're measuring education or any kind of metric, the process and how we're measuring something can influence the outcome. And that's something that we need to understand as a group. And whenever we add a new key performance indicator to monitor, we make sure that is it really monitoring the thing that we want to monitor? And is that monitoring, is that thing that we're tracking a symptom or the root cause, and how does it really help us? So we're not just measuring irrelevant things. So overall, I think we came to as a group that we have so much more to discuss and so much more to discover. And that's, I'd open it up to anyone else to add something if I missed. Ava, you're on mute.
We ended on village enrollment strategy. So essentially how to acquire more aligned collaborators, contributors in villages, and how to really kind of solidify and streamline that process.
Okay, Sam, I take it back. I turn it back to you.
Well, I think we should just end it. Yeah, it's been a lot of information, a lot of great ideas, and definitely I can see a nice path forward. I think so. I would suggest that we just meet next week. But maybe we could actually, like, if you all connect on Discord, maybe we can just I'll set up the rooms for each of those topics, and whatever topic you're most interested in, maybe just hop into the room and we can just do like a asynchronous brainstorm a little bit over the week to see where we want to go a little bit. Cool. Any last topic items? All right. See you all in a week then. Maybe we can end this with a dance. Should we put on some music?
Yes, let's do it. Try to do a finger dance.
Yeah.